Hey guys, welcome to GDTV. My name is Chris. Welcome back to the GTI. You've probably noticed that the channel name has been updated to German Driver, which is what I teased in a couple other videos. I did make the permanent change, working on some logos and stuff like that, but that is the channel name going forward. Today is a quick review of both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I was lucky enough to remember that I had an old Nexus 5X that was just hanging out in a drawer, so I was able to test that out as well. So I'll show you a few, just a quick comparisons between the two of them, not to get too in depth, although there isn't really much to go into. Like, as you can see here, I have the interface for Android Auto, for Apple CarPlay set up here already. And again, this is just simply plugging in an iPhone to the USB cord that goes into the USB plug down here by the shifter, and it automatically comes up with Apple CarPlay. So if you're familiar with iPhone, you're familiar with all the icons that come up from phone, music, maps, messages, now playing, Volkswagen, and Overcast. Overcast is the podcast app that I like to use. If Overcast wasn't on my iPhone, then Apple's podcast app would be automatically on here. But if there are any CarPlay compatible apps already on your phone, then of course they'll come up on the screen here as well. Unfortunately, things like Google Maps, I really wish that I could replace Apple Maps with Google Maps, which actually Google Maps I have on my phone, but obviously you see here that it doesn't come up here because Apple doesn't allow it. I've been going back and forth between Apple Music and Spotify over the past year or so since Apple Music came out with their streaming service. I don't have it on my iPhone right now, but if I did, Spotify would come up here. Apple Music does stay, which is kind of funny. When you have Spotify, Apple Music will stay. Unlike the podcast app, which will be turned off if you have another podcast app up here. So just to run through them, iPhone is pretty simple. Now with things like iPhone and messages, the second that you press them, Siri will come on and you'll hear Siri asking you if you want to call somebody. It's all really meant to be hands-free, obviously, in a car. So I can even ask, Siri's command. I won't say Siri's command because I don't want to have all my listeners' iPhones to go off. But you say the Siri command, you really just have to say it here. If you have it turned on the iPhone, you don't have to press a button on the steering wheel or anything. You just have to say it and ask for a destination that you want to go to with navigation. You can ask it to bring up some music, and I'll demonstrate that in a second. But just plainly pressing the buttons here, when I press phone,
let me know if you'd like to make a call or play your new voicemail.
Cancel.
Okay.
So that's what you can do. You can say somebody's name who's ever in your contacts, and it will automatically dial them and call them for you. But here's a keypad: voicemail, contacts, recents, favorites. I won't go into my contacts and recents just so you don't see my contacts and recents. But you get the idea. It's really the same straightforward phone app that's on an iPhone. And the home button is right here. This also tells you the time, your cellular signal, and then Wi-Fi. Since I'm right next to the house, it's still picking up the Wi-Fi, which is great. So music is if you use it on your iPhone, it's pretty much the same thing. Library for, and then again, I sign up for Apple Music, so all the streaming services will be here as well. As far as for you, browse radio with things like Beats One and everything else. Holiday classics. Wow, I can't believe that's still there. So and of course now playing. Library, I can go into my playlist, I can go into anything here. Let's Dance. I won't play that because we're talking about copyrights here. So, and again, it's the same thing with Siri. You can just ask it to play whatever you have in your library or whatever available on Apple Music streaming, and it will play it. Very straightforward. Go back out, maps, same thing. I'm right smack dab here in the middle of Westboro, almost smack dab in the middle of well, it's got me facing the wrong way here because I'm facing the wrong way. But Worcester is actually west, Boston is actually east. But since I'm facing this other way around here, that's where it's showing me. So, and this is the same thing. Again, you ask Siri for a destination, the closest McDonald's or whatever, it'll tell you. Actually, I can do that here. Hey Siri, show me the nearest McDonald's.
Checking. The nearest one I see is McDonald's, which averages 3 stars and is inexpensive. Let me know if you want more information.
And then of course you can just hit go or ask Siri to show you where to go, and the navigation will come up. So typical navigation, if you're running it on your phone, whether your phone is up here or plugged into CarPlay, it's the same thing. Works really, really well. Messages.
To whom should I send your message?
Cancel.
Okay, let me know if there's anything else you need.
Okay, I'll probably blur out all my messages here, my phone numbers. But again, it's the same thing. When you press the button, Siri will ask you if you want to text anybody. It's the same thing. You don't even have to touch any buttons. You just have to ask Siri, to text so and so, and then it'll play that for it. Siri will actually send you the message. Now playing is just what was playing last, whether you were on Apple Music or your Overcast or whatever. Volkswagen actually brings you back out to the Volkswagen interface, so that's how you get back out. And Overcast is where all my podcasts are. And again, everything is all Siri controlled, whether it's podcasts, whether it's maps, messages, music, phone, anything else that you have on your phone can all be brought up with just the Siri command. So as far as I've been using it since day one, and it is kind of a pain to actually plug in and unplug your iPhone every single time you get into the car. But what a lot of people have to realize is that this is actually running directly off the iPhone. Volkswagen is just giving Apple permission in order to take over the entire screen. So it's not like Apple CarPlay is built into the head unit and it's just getting the information from the phone, like your music and stuff like that. No, everything is running off the iPhone. So as far as like Bluetooth or anything like that, it's really, as of right now, it's really too much to go through Bluetooth and have something that's as silky smooth as like an iPhone. So other than that, it's I like it. It works perfectly fine for me, other than the plugging in and the unplugging. I think it's funny that I'm recording this now, and the series finale for the Grand Tour was just on a few days ago. Between James May had his new BMW i3, and Clarkson had his new GTI. I'm not sure if they were actually their real cars or their own cars or not. I think that at least the i3 is James May's real car. But and of course you saw Jeremy Clarkson having problems with Siri. I'm not sure if he was actually having problems with it, or it was because of his British accent, or if they were just doing it, to have a funny segment for the Grand Tour. But I really haven't run into many problems like that. It's all pretty straightforward for me. It works seamlessly. And like I said, unless I'm listening to like my local sports radio station, which is 98.5 Sports up in Boston, which I've been listening to a lot, coming up to the Super Bowl and after the Super Bowl. And unless I want some of my car diagnostics, especially like oil temperature, so I can start having some fun with it once everything is warmed up, then otherwise I am in Apple CarPlay. So that's Apple CarPlay. Let me take a couple seconds here and switch out to Android Auto. Okay, guys, plugged in the Nexus 5X. Up comes Android Auto. Now I have to be completely honest. Android Auto's interface is interesting. It really interests me. It's a little bit friendlier. It's not particularly app icon based like Apple's is. whatever you did last, whether it was music, destination for, for maps or phone calls or whatever, it comes up on the actual home screen, and you can scroll. If there were other things here, I could scroll up and down to actually see what I did before, to go back to a previous song or whatever. And down here on the menu bar, there are, I guess you would call them the apps, but there are, you have Google Maps here, which again is great. I wish I was able to use Google Maps on Apple CarPlay, but and again, it's all through Google. You say the Google, catchphrase, and the same thing will come up for as Siri. So, okay, Google, show me the nearest McDonald's.
Showing results for McDonald's.
I don't know why it's showing me the furthest one away from me first, but that's kind of odd, especially since there's one like 2 miles down the road. But but anyway, and I think Android Auto and what do you want to call it, Google Now, or the new Google Assistant, is a little bit more friendlier, is a little bit friendlier than Siri. It's a little bit more easy to talk to. I know that sounds crazy, but so let's get back to this. Okay, then we go into the phone. Down here, you can dial a number, your voicemail, dial a number, call history, missed, do anything that you want with a phone. Same thing, as well as asking the Google Assistant to dial a phone number for you. Anybody that's in your contacts, will work. So, and that's the middle one here is the home button. Now over here, it's funny because it brings up Spotify, and I'm not sure if, oh yeah, that's right, I am connected to Wi-Fi, because I don't have a SIM card in this phone, but I am connected to Wi-Fi, so so I can browse through my playlists. I'll stop that because, again, copyright. But what's interesting with this headphone icon down here, you can see the little triangle down here, is that you click it again, and here are all your music and listening apps that are on the phone. Google Play Music, I have NPR One, Pocket Casts I have here for my podcast, and then of course Spotify. So you click on it, and it will bring up Spotify, and the next time that you go into, and here again is, that shows you my last things that were used on here on the actual main home screen. But when you click on the headphone again, it'll bring you back to what you used before, and then you got to click it again, go into Pocket Cast if you want to find, if you want to use your podcast. So, and then again, there's no podcast available. And back here will bring me back out to Volkswagen. So it is, Android Auto is a simplistic version of Apple CarPlay. I must admit, I kind of like the interface a little bit better. I've only really used it, I've only actually purposely plugged it in, gone out for a drive, and used it only a couple of times, just to try it out. And it's not half bad. As far as usability goes, I think they're both equal. It just all depends on the actual phone and the actual ecosystem that you're in. I'm in the Apple ecosystem, so that's what I'm going to use. Great, so that was my review. Let me do a quick cut here, because I actually want to show you quickly how I plug these into the car. Okay, the first kind of, I guess you would call it, dock that I got when I first got the car is a Pro Clip from ProClipUSA.com. I've had these on all my cars for the past 4 or 5 years. And it's a really great system because these brackets are specifically made for your car. This is specifically made to go right down here, if you can see that. Yep. And I got the one with the actual lightning cable in here, so plug it into the USB port down here, and then of course you would just slide the iPhone in. It would automatically plug in, and it would come up with Apple CarPlay. So that was great. But then I noticed that once Apple CarPlay was up, I didn't need both of the screens. And when I would get a text on Apple CarPlay, the text would come down. Siri would ask you if you wanted to respond to it, whatever, and do whatever with it. But this screen would also light up as well. The iPhone would light up as well, and it just seemed like a waste to me. And so what I found on the Golf and the GTI Mark 7 Facebook page was this guy. Oh shoot, I forgot his name. I really should have grabbed his name. But he runs ddocs.com, which he creates. I'm not sure if you can see this. Let me see if I can. Hold on 2 seconds. Let me see if I can zoom in. Down here. You're not going to be able to see this very well because it's in the dark. But I'll put a link to both of these, both the ProClip USA and also ddoc in the description below. So it is, and what I believe, I really think that they are 3D printed little cubbies lined in felt that actually goes into the cubby down here next to the shifter. And then it has a little, and this stuff is all black, so you really can't see it, but it has a USB plug that's automatically plugged into it. And then you just plug that into there. You take your iPhone, you slide it into the cubby, and then it plugs in, and of course Apple CarPlay comes up. But it's great because it's out of the way and I don't see it, and it's not hanging off of the edge of the dash or anything like that. What I don't like is, because I have the iPhone 7 Plus, I can't close the cubby door. So, but that's okay, because I can just take it out and close the door when I leave the car. So that's my quick review of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Again, whichever ecosystem you're in, you'll be perfectly happy with either system on your Volkswagen. They both work flawlessly. Voice commands work really, really well, and again, you'll be completely satisfied whichever way that you go. Very happy that Volkswagen allowed both of these companies to have access to the infotainment system, and I'm really looking forward to what's coming next. So thanks again for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like, and stay tuned for more videos. See ya.